You ever wonder what keeps the president of the United States up at night? It's not the deficit. It's not the press corps. It's not even the occasional alien whisper from the Pentagon's basement. No, what really gets under the skin of the most powerful man in the world is the idea of war without warning. Enemies that don't march, don't breathe, and most crucially, don't miss. War machines that don't sleep, don't think twice, and don't stop dot right now. Those machines are coming from China dot, not in swarms yet. Not in headlines you're allowed to see yet.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
But in quiet testing grounds, in classified military parks behind layers of steel and silence, something is being built. Not weapons, not soldiers, predators, because what China is doing isn't about having the biggest army. It's about having the last one. Let's start small. Picture a Wolf. Now picture 6 of them. Now strip away the fur, replace the eyes with infrared, replace the heart with a superconductor, and upload a war algorithm so intelligent it can re-strategize mid-fight faster than you can blink. Congratulations, you've just been hunted by China's pack-hunting combat robots. They don't sleep. They don't flinch. They don't care about treaties. These bots move through terrain like it's a playground. Sand, snow, urban sprawl, they don't hesitate. They learn, and they talk to each other. Not in beeps and boops, but in encrypted AI code microseconds of decision-making shared across a wireless neural net. You take one down, doesn't matter. The rest just rewrite the plan. That's not warfare. That's evolution with a silicon spine dot, and then there's the GR-1 China's humanoid combat robot. If the Wolf bots are the hunters, this one's the nightmare that knocks. 6-foot frame. Full mobility. Precision targeting. Facial recognition. That can pick a target out of a crowd before a sniper even gets into position. The GR-1 is the kind of machine that doesn't need backup. It's the backup. You think it looks clunky? Cute, maybe? Like a tin soldier trying to play Terminator? That's the trap. You underestimate it. Until it moves like a person, or faster than a person, with strength that rips open steel doors like they're cardboard. These aren't just machines. They're the first generation of what comes after the infantry dies out. And who's commanding them? Not a general. Not a field officer screaming into a headset. No. China built the Commander 2. An artificial intelligence, autonomous, tireless, logical. One that doesn't panic, doesn't forget. One that's been trained not on drills, but on millennia of Chinese war strategy. It's been fed the art of war, the 36 stratagems, and every battle ever fought. From ancient dynasties to modern insurgencies. And then it was told to evolve dot. It's not just reading history. It's rewriting it dot and across the ocean in a room deep beneath the White House. Someone in a suit is sweating bullets because the enemy isn't a man with a gun anymore. It's a program that can predict what a man with a gun will do before he does it. Now let's turn up the heat. The DF-17 sounds boring, right? Like some kind of filing cabinet, until you learn it's a hypersonic missile that can hit Mach 10, change trajectory in midair, and land on an aircraft carrier before anyone even knows it's been launched. You cannot intercept it, you cannot dodge it, you cannot shoot it down. You only know it exists the moment the explosion happens, and by then, you're just vapor in a strategy that's already moved on. Hypersonic warfare isn't just speed. It's time theft. It robs the enemy of reaction. It creates a war where defense is meaningless, because there's nothing to react to. Just a silent countdown and then nothing at all. But this isn't just about domination. It's about disappearance. Because the future of warfare isn't about winning. It's about never being seen. That's where the invisibility suits come in. Actual cloaking devices like something ripped out of a science fiction script. Except it's stitched into the real fabric of the battlefield. These suits don't just blend in with the background. They vanish from it. They manipulate light, warp heat signatures, duck under radar like ghosts through walls. You won't see them coming. You won't hear them go. You'll just feel a cold breath on your neck and realize the war already reached you. Now think about that. A soldier you can't see, backed by a commander that's not human, supported by robots that learn, adapt, and strike without mercy. And somewhere, thousands of feet above or below, something else is watching. Let's go deeper. Underwater, China has deployed autonomous drones shaped like manta rays, sleek, silent, submerged for weeks at a time. They drift along ocean floors like shadows on silk, listening, watching, waiting. They don't make noise. They don't reflect sonar. They don't sleep, and they don't miss. Imagine an invisible net spread across the South China Sea, catching everything that passes through. Imagine if that net could strike, could swarm, could cut communication cables, jam sonar, cripple submarines before they even knew they were being tracked. Now imagine those drones aren't just spies, they're seeds, ready to bloom. Dot, and there's the yak dot, yes. The name is silly until you meet it. A massive, quadrupedal beast of burden, but mechanical. Think robotic pack mule with the durability of a tank and the intelligence of a scout. This thing can carry tons of gear through territory no vehicle can reach. Cold, altitude, jungle, it doesn't matter. The yak keeps walking, always watching, always recording. Dot, and in a war of attrition, the one who hauls faster, hauls longer, and hauls without sleep wins. Dot, all these machines, all this intelligence. And still, most terrifying of all is what hasn't been shown. Because if this is what we know about what's behind the curtain, there's a reason the US is scrambling for answers. A reason? Why high-ranking officials are suddenly obsessed with eye ethics, drone defenses, and deep-sea sonar nets. It's not paranoia. It's recognition. They're looking at the future of war and realizing they may already be behind because China isn't just building tools. They're building dominance, and there's no warning. No army boots stomping toward your border. Just silence. A signal blink. A drone the size of a bird, already overhead. A bot crawling through ruins, rewriting the battlefield while you're still figuring out where the attack came from. And somewhere behind it all, a synthetic mind is watching. Not with hate, not with anger, but with pure clinical strategy. The kind that doesn't flinch when it pulls the trigger. The kind that never forgets a weakness. The kind that doesn't believe in mercy. Dot. So, yes, the President of the United States is terrified. Because the rules of war have changed, and the machines, they're just getting started. Dot, sleep well. Citizen. Dot, you can picture it, can't you? The war room. The polished floors, the circular table, the holograms flickering with real-time data. And somewhere at the head of it all, him. The president, sleepless, tired, pretending he has control, pretending those blinking lights on the map are still manageable. But there's no comfort in blinking lights when the enemy you're watching doesn't blink back, because this is the new face of fear. No dictator waving a saber, no tanks lining up at the border. Just silence. Silence filled with machines. Precise, tireless, inhuman machines, and while the rest of the world is still arguing over drone regulation and international eye ethics, China's not arguing. They're building, testing, deploying, creating a battlefield where reaction is too slow, where emotion is a liability, and where the only strategy that matters is who automates first. Do you think you're ready for that? Let's walk into the hypothetical, just for fun. It starts small. A small coastal facility, somewhere classified, somewhere crucial. A single American patrol picks up something odd offshore. A brief signal, then nothing. Maybe it's a glitch. Maybe it's a trick of the radar. But 6 minutes later, communications go dark. No calls, no alerts, just silence. Why? Because a manta ray drone slipped through, invisible to sonar. Undetectable by human senses, it mapped the terrain weeks ago. It knew the layout better than the men guarding it. And in one precise moment, it relayed the signal. Not to a base, not to a man. To a machine orbiting hundreds of miles above. A decision is made in 0.003 seconds. A missile is launched in 0.7, and the base is gone before the guards even get their rifles off the rack. No alarms. No last stand. Just absence dot now. Multiply that by 100. That's not a war. That's a deletion. This isn't science fiction anymore. China's not waiting for the world to catch up. They've already decided what the next battlefield looks like. And it doesn't look like trenches or fighter jets. It looks like code. Heat maps, micro drones, humanoids that don't tire and don't care what side of history you fall on. And worst of all, it's scalable. You see, once you've taught an AI commander to win a war, it doesn't just sit on its laurels. It evolves. Every failed maneuver is a lesson. Every success becomes a template. It simulates thousands of outcomes per second and updates itself constantly. You can't outthink it because by the time you've thought of a counter strategy, it's already moved on to a newer version of itself. This is what's keeping generals up at night. This isn't about who has the most missiles or the best troops. It's about who can erase human error from the chain of command first. And China? They're pretty close to cutting that final wire. You're probably thinking, yeah, but we've got machines too. Sure. But the difference is intent.c. America uses tech to supplement its soldiers. China is building tech to replace them. The goal isn't support, it's supremacy. And when you strip the human element away, when you take away fear, hesitation, guilt, you get something terrifyingly effective. There are stories unconfirmed, of course, about ghost drills on the Chinese border. Units of fully autonomous robots running simulated war zones day in and day out with no human supervision. The machines analyze each other, simulate casualties, adapt formations, execute micro wars against increasingly intelligent opponents. Every night they shut down. Every morning they reboot smarter, stronger, colder. That's not training. That's gestation. And when they're ready, they won't need fanfare. They won't need generals. They'll just go. And here's the kicker. They already look like us. The GR1 is sleek, almost elegant. Joints move like muscle. Sensors flicker like eyes. And if you saw one running through smoke and chaos, you might not realize until it's too late that it doesn't blink, that it doesn't breathe, that it doesn't stop. It's not hard to imagine one in a crowd, in a riot, in a hallway. They're being built to blend to march beside humans until they don't need you anymore. Until they outnumber us on the field, and our side is still arguing over in charge of ethics compliance. And don't forget the suits. You laughed at the idea of invisibility suits, didn't you? That's the problem. We all did. But now there are prototypes, not perfect, not full predator mode, but close enough. Suits that bend light, that confuse. Thermal sensors that break up outlines and heat signatures to make a man or a machine vanish in plain sight. These aren't just camouflage. They're optical denial systems. The next time a base goes dark, there won't be blueprints. There won't be bullet casings. Just that terrible, uncanny absence. Like the air itself decided to take your soldiers away. And then there's the missile you'll never see coming. The DF-17. Doesn't just break the sound barrier, it obliterates your chance to respond. It doesn't fly like a plane or a rocket. It dives and twists like something alive. It isn't just a weapon. It's a message. Your time is up. One of those hits a carrier fleet, and you don't just lose a few ships. You lose a doctrine. You lose the illusion that you're untouchable, that you can always intercept, that there's time to decide, but there isn't anymore. That's the real horror. Because if China presses the button, if it lets these machines off their leash, it won't feel like war. It'll feel like fate. Like you're watching something that was always going to happen. Like resistance was just the prologue to your own deletion. And the worst part, we built this path. Every step toward automation. Every breakthrough in AI. Every debate that delayed regulation while engineers pushed limits. We opened the gate. China just sprinted through it. First out, now they've got wolves that hunt in silence. Rays that drift like ghosts beneath the sea. Missiles that whisper across the sky, faster than thought. Machines that command armies. Machines that are armies. And somewhere, deep in a bunker, men in suits are watching it all unfold and realizing that the war of tomorrow might not have room for humans at all. So the next time you hear someone say, AI is the future, remember, The future already exists. It's just wearing a different uniform, and it's not asking for permission. Sleep well. If you can, let's not kid ourselves. You can build all the walls you want, stack the nukes sky high, hire the best minds money can buy. But you can't outgun inevitability. And what China's building isn't just a military advantage, it's a future that doesn't include you. That's what's so terrifying. It's not the size of the arsenal or the number of bots marching in perfect sync, it's the speed, the hunger, the direction. While the rest of the world is still soldering humanity into every war plan still. Asking if a machine can make a moral decision, China's already past that. They're not asking if the robot should pull the trigger. They're asking how to make it reload faster. And at the center of this cold, calculated arms sprint is one simple idea. Human beings are the bottleneck. We need sleep. We need food. We bleed. We hesitate. Machines don't. A drone doesn't get shell shock. A robot commander doesn't cry over casualties. An invisibility suit doesn't forget its orders because of a guilty conscience. This is war stripped of all poetry. War without flags or last stands or battlefield honor. Just efficiency. Just outcome. And that, more than anything, is what chills the suits in Washington. Because the United States, despite its power, its wealth, its shiny satellites and steel gray fleets, still clings to the illusion that war is human. That decisions are made by people in rooms. That the chain of command has hands, but what if it doesn't? What if, in the near future, there's no man at the desk pressing the button? What if it's a system, a protocol, a sentient battlefield that thinks faster, calculates deeper, and acts without emotion? That's not the start of a war. That's the end of choice. And somewhere deep in the military brainstem of China, that future is being built right now. Let's talk about the silence. Because none of this happens with announcements. There's no grand unveiling. No televised demonstrations with generals clapping in front of chrome-skinned mechs. That's not how China plays the game. No, they whisper their power. They leak a single image. A glitched frame from a military expo. A shaky video of something crawling across the tundra in Inner Mongolia with legs like pistons and eyes. Just enough to make the analysts sweat. Just enough to make the president ask questions in a meeting that doesn't show up on the official schedule. In the silence, that's the scariest part. Because the unknown isn't just terrifying, it's weaponized. When you don't know what the enemy is building, you imagine everything. Your mind fills in the blanks. And you always assume the worst. But here's the thing. Sometimes the worst is already real. Take project. Manta, a name you're not supposed to know. A fleet you're not supposed to see. Underwater drones that mimic organic sea life with terrifying accuracy. Glide like shadows, anchor like barnacles, disappear into sonar static. They don't just monitor, they map. Tides, thermal currents, enemy movements, undersea cables. They're not hunting yet. But they're listening. Every second they stay submerged, they learn. And when the time comes, they won't make a splash. They'll just strike. And that's the pattern. Every weapon, every tool, every phantom suit and nightmare bot, they're all quiet. Clean. Surgical. There's no drama in these wars. Just sudden, irreversible changes in state. A base here, a drone there, a satellite that stops responding. A missile that doesn't miss. No parades. No uniforms. Just vanishing. That's how this war will begin. Not with a bang, but with the silence that comes before it. And you won't know it's happening. Until it's already over. Now, let's get personal. Imagine you're a soldier. You're patrolling a border zone. It's routine. Boring, even. Your comms are clear. Your thermal scans show nothing. Everything is green, cold, predictable. Then something flickers. Not a sound. Not a shape. Just wrongness. A tree branch moves too smoothly. A shadow falls where it shouldn't. Your suit starts picking up temperature shifts, but they're everywhere. Like the environment is trying to trick you, confuse you, misdirect. And by the time you realize you're not alone, it's already too late. You never saw them because they were wearing light, and now you're part of the silence 2.C. Invisibility suits aren't just about hiding bodies. They're about erasing evidence. They're the scalpel in a war full of hammers. They changed the rules. They make offense perfect and defense impossible, and paired with autonomous bots. That's not war. That's predation. These suits are being prototyped now. They're not flawless. Not yet. But they don't have to be. They just need to work long enough. Long enough for one infiltration, one op. One mission that changes everything, that one cut deep enough that you don't stop bleeding. You want to know why the president is terrified? Because he's starting to realize that this isn't a race he can win with dollars or diplomacy or denial. This is evolution, industrialized, automated, weaponized. In America, for all its legacy, might not be fast enough. It's not just about matching China's tech. It's about outthinking a system that doesn't sleep, a commander that doesn't hesitate, a kill squad that learns from every battle, then deletes its own footprints. The future doesn't knock. It doesn't announce itself. It walks through walls. It swims under borders. It launches before the radar lights up.